Okay, Dragons, this is day 2 of Unit 4. We're going to continue practicing the point-slope formula. And if you have forgotten it or you did not participate in day 1 lesson, please go back and watch my videos. But the point-slope equation is y minus y sub 1 is equal to my slope times the group x minus x sub 1. And what I did was I modified it to everywhere that I needed to plug in a number, I put a box. So we're going to put in a number for here, the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. So I just smeared that really well. But here we go. So I'm going to do a couple of examples, probably about 4 total, maybe 5, depending upon how I feel. This is all practice. You've got to get the hang of this. So let's look over here at, let's say, problem number 2. So as I'm taking a look at this, if I'm going to use the point slope equation to get started, I got the points. Here's point number 1. Here's point number 2. I need the slope. And so we find the slope by using our slope formula. You have to know that that's what you need to do. So there's the slope formula. We're going to subtract our x's and y's. We're going to put the y's on the top and the x's on the bottom. So here I go. I'm going to do 3 minus 1. That's a y minus a y. And then I'm going to do a negative 5 minus a negative 2. Okay? So we now have a 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. And if I do this properly, I'm going to get a negative 3. So now I have not 1, but 2 points of the line, and I now know the slope. So now we can use our point slope formula. So y minus another y is equal to my slope times x minus another x. All right? So here we go. I know my slope is a negative 2/3. And according to this, the slope is what goes in the middle, right after the equal sign. So I'm going to put a negative 2/3 right here. And now I get to pick a point. I can either use point number 1 or point number 2. It does not matter. Pick your favorite. So I'm gonna go cray-cray, and I'm going to pick point number 2. All right? So this is y minus another y. Which of these two is considered a y? The 3, because this is x comma y. So I'm going to put the 3 right here, and then I'm going to put the negative 5 right here. Okay? Anytime I see subtracting a negative, I want you to rewrite it as addition. All right? So now I can kind of rewrite this without the boxes, because now everything is good. All right? And so what were the instructions? We want to go into this form right here. So I need to solve for y. I need to get rid of parentheses. So I'll distribute my negative 2/3. Negative 2/3 times x is that. Right here, a negative 2/3 times 5 is a negative 10/3. If you don't believe me, check your calculator. So now I have this, and I'm one step away. All I got to do is add 3 to both sides. And so y is now equal to negative 2/3 x. And if I let my calculator help me out on this, I get negative 1/3. Okay? Done and done. Now in this next one, I'm just going to help you out. You've got to realize that this function notation is really the ordered pair 4, comma, negative 4. because the 4 is inside the parentheses, so I know that that's an x. I know the negative 4 is not inside the function notation parentheses, so I know that's the y. You have to know that this is this ordered pair. So now I have a point, I'm given the slope, and now I need to plug that into my point slope formula. I'm not going to do this problem. I want you to plug this in and go. Okay? Now if we look over here, it says use the given information to write in slope-intercept form. We don't have to use the point slope form. We're already given an equation with an x and a y. We are just going to solve for y. And we've actually been doing this for quite a while. Okay? So the first step is to move the x term, either with addition and subtraction, and the second step is divide by the number in front of y. That's it, every time. Okay, so here I go. Move the x terms. I need to move that. How do I make 4x into nothing? I subtract 4x, and what I do to one side, I do to the other. Please make sure you write your x's. If you don't write your x, you're going to think that you can do 12 minus 4, which is 8, and you can't do that. This has an x, that doesn't. These are not like terms. So that's 0 minus 6y, which is negative 6y. All right, I'm going to put the x term first. So I'm going to do a negative 4x, and that 12 is positive, so I'm going to put plus 12. So check off step number 1. We moved our x term. Now we're going to divide by the number in front of y. We're going to divide everything by the number in front of y. Okay? Negative 6 divided by itself is 1. I want 1y. That's what I want. Negative 4 over negative 6. Do your alpha y equals. Put that in your calculator and reduce it. You'll see that that's 2/3 in front of the x. Don't forget the x. And finally, a positive 12 divided by negative 6 is a negative 2. There's your answer. Okay? Do 5 and 6 just like that. Now, on 7, 8, 9, and 10, you'll notice that at the bottom of the first page that you have is a number 10, and yet on the next page, there's another number 10. And the reason why we have that is because this one, and one right after number 9, is bunk. It's bogus. It's nothing. Do not do that one. Scratch through it. Okay? We're actually going to do the number 10 on the second page. All right, so I'm just going to do 9 and 10, and then I'm going to call it quits, and you're going to do the rest of these. Check it, and you have an exit ticket coming. All right, so here we go. What's the equation in standard form? Standard form just means that we have the x term and the y term on the same side. If you notice all your answer choices, your x and your y are on the same side. And then the thing that doesn't have a variable is by itself on the right. That's what standard form is. With this being multiple choice, you really don't have to worry about that because you're going to have to shuffle the furniture. But notice what we're given. We're given a point and a slope. Now the biggest mistake students do at this particular point is they try to look at this and that and this and go directly to your answer. If you do this, you will have to be the luckiest person alive to get all of these right. Because you can't do that. You can't just look at this stuff and say, well, it kind of looks like it should be this. All right? If you know the point and a slope, you have a place to start. You need to start with this formula for the majority of the problems in Unit 4. So write it down. Say I'm going to do y minus another y is equal to my slope times x minus another x. Okay? Remember, this is a y, this is the slope, and this is another x. Okay? So, in a point, I'm given an x and a y. Okay. Well, the x is 4. Where does the x go? It goes right here, so put a 4. All right, this is a y. Where does the y go? Right here, so put a -8. And the slope goes in the middle. What's the slope? It's 1/4. All right, so look for double signs. I'm subtracting a -8 here. I want you to rewrite it as y plus 8. And this one is good, so I'm just going to write this as x minus 4. All right, so now notice all my answer choices don't have parentheses. So I need to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. That's 1/4 x, and if I do that, I get -1. Okay? And so I get y plus 8 is equal to that. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to, actually, you notice that all these x's come first on the left-hand side. I'm actually going to do something. I'm going to call halftime, and I'm going to have these switch sides. So I'm just going to write all of this on the left side and all of this on the right, and you'll see why I'm doing that in just a second. So I'm going to write down 1/4 x minus 1 is equal to y plus 8. Okay? Now, let's get rid of this fraction right here. So, this is like taking x and divide it by 4. 1/4 of x is the same thing as x divided by 4. What's the opposite of dividing by 4? Hopefully you said multiplying by 4. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. I'm going to multiply everything by 4. Everything by 4. Okay, here we go. What is 4 times 1/4 x? That's 1x. What is 4 times a -1? It's -4. Other side, what's 4 times y? That's 4y. And what's 4 times 8? It's 32. Okay, let's get the numbers on the right-hand side. So let's zero out the plain numbers, not the things with the variables. I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And so now, what's 32 plus 4? That's 36. And you can probably look at your answer choices right now and find the answer. The only thing that has a positive 36 is this guy right here. But let's go ahead and finish the problem. Let's move the y to the other side. How do I make that into 0? That's a positive 4y, so I need to subtract 4y. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So now I have an x minus a 4y is equal to 36. And that is indeed answer choice C. Okay? I'm going to do one more. Video's already getting long, or is long. Okay? I want to make sure that you get what you need. All right, here we go. Same thing. You have to know that this is the point -9, 8. This is my point. And I have a slope. Point, slope. So we're going to start with our point slope formula. Y minus another y is equal to my slope times x minus another x. All right? The slope goes in the middle, so that's 2/3. This is the x, so the x goes in the back, that's -9. And that's a y, so that's going to go up front. Single sign is just y minus 8 here. I've got 2/3 here. I got double signs here. Subtracting a negative is adding a positive. So let's distribute. I get 2/3 x, and then 2/3 of 9 is 6. So that works out nice. All right. So I can do the same thing as I did last time. I notice all my x terms are first on the left-hand side, so I'm going to call halftime and switch, just rewriting the problem. 2/3 x plus 6 is equal to y minus 8. So how do I get rid of a denominator of 3? I'm going to multiply by a denominator, or I'm going to multiply by 3. And what I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. So when I do 3 times 2/3, that gives me 2 in front of the x. When I do 3 times 6, that gives me 18. When I do 3 times y, I get 3y. And when I do 3 times a negative 8, I get negative 24. Right? So now I need my numbers, all my numbers need to be on the right-hand side. So I'm going to subtract the plain old number 18 from both sides, and I notice that's negative 24 minus 18, that's a negative 42. Well, I have 3 answers that have negative 42 in it. The only one that I can get rid of is this guy right here. Okay, so now let's move the y to the other side. How would I do that? How would I make 3y into a 0? I would subtract 3y. And so I would subtract 3y over here. So now if I clean all this stuff up, these are zeros, so they are going away. I've got 2x minus a 3y is equal to a negative 42. 2x minus 3y equals a negative 42. We need to pick B, even though I punched it out with the hole puncher. Answer choice is going to be B.